We saw, you get pulled aside and Weidman leave the ice. Just a thought on the acquisition of Alex Petrovich, even though he's Petrovic and Jr., but Petrovich, and what he might bring to this group and maybe help upgrade your depleted decor right now.
Bob, I got to tell you, I don't know much about him. I mean, I've coached against him a couple times, but he wasn't on my look-see list of the teams that I was responsible for. So I don't really know much about him. I know he's a local guy, and he's got a lot of friends on the team, and he's obviously well-known in the area, played in Red Deer. But I don't know much about him right now. I mean, he's a defending defenseman that makes a good first pass. So for us, size matters in this conference. And his competitiveness and his aggressiveness is going to certainly add to the third pair.
Quite a different look with the lines today. Can you just kind of discuss some of the thinking behind, all the changes?
Sorry?
Just quite a different look with the lines today, the forwards.
I said this yesterday. One of the things with our team is that this is a veteran conference, and there's a lot of veteran teams. And you've got to be strong down the middle of the ice. And now we play another team that's probably arguably the best, or if not one of the top two teams in the conference. And they're strong as heck down the middle. And so we've opted to put our top three centers and have them try to drag some people along and improve their games on the walls. And we can always, late in the game, late in the period, we can pop one of those centers up on the left side with somebody, but we feel like for us to continue to grow with the young guys we got playing, we got to drag more people along, and those are our three best players. They got to pull people along, and I think the last couple of games against experienced teams, well, two of the last three games against experienced teams have taught us some great lessons. You got to be deeper than one line. You got to be deeper than a line and a half if you're going to win in this division or even in this conference.
So getting another defenseman, was that Peter's number one priority with the two defensemen who've been out, as opposed to getting more scoring somewhere else?
Well, it's the hole right now caused by the guys that are out. So I think it's just trying to fill the hole. But there's a bigger picture here, Jim, too, and that is that if you're going to continue to collect points, you're going to have to defend. Like you're going to have to play against, like that team last night was a real eye-opener. That's a weighty team, 4 lines deep, size up front like crazy, and in order to defend it and not get mauled in your own end, you're going to have size that can win a one-on-one, and that's going to be important because you can't skill your way out of a team like that. The puck's going to be on the boards a lot, and you're going to have to find ways to get it out. And I think that's the one thing we've been guilty of. And you get that with young groups. In this conference, you can't skill your way through games. You got to work your way through games, and I think that's why we've gotten. Like if you look at the first half of the scoring chances until the 10-minute mark or 7 or 8 minutes left in the second period, both teams were trading. And they scored on theirs a lot, and we didn't score on ours, especially in the first period, but both teams were trading, and that's not how we're built. We can't play like that. So bringing in a guy like Alex is going to help us because we're going to be a lot sturdier.
Can I ask you, too, about Kara playing on the wing with Connor now? Why, JJ?
This is the wrong league to be learning on the fly. We're going to work with them every day playing center, but it's a new position, and it's a lot different when people are coming at you from both sides, and that's what we're finding is that he's getting pressured from both sides, whereas a winger, it's coming from one side. So, and we've liked his game so much on the wing because he's breaking ahead of the play. He's putting so much physical pressure on people. When we played him as a left winger with Nugent, Hopkins, and that it was very effective. And so we like him at left wing. We needed that center, but we've opted to go this way to try to help us. But we're willing to adjust, but in saying that, we've got to get more players on the wall helping us in more situations, and we're trying to give them all a chance to do that. Thanks. Oh.
I can. How do you find a balance in a time like this when the team has dropped 5 straight, in adding urgency but telling the players not to do too much at the same time, just kind of playing their game? How do you find that balance?
Well, a wise old guy named Gainey told me something. He said, you have to make a decision in this league. You either have to coach or you have to just want to win. And if you just want to win, you won't last long. So these are coaching moments. They're teaching moments. I know this might come across to people in a funny way, but I like a lot of the things we're doing. I don't like the fact that we're trying to skill our way back into games rather than work our way, which is what we were doing earlier. And that's maturity. And we're trying to get this team to grow up quick. This is a very mature conference, a lot different than the East. And we're guilty of one thing, and that is this is not effort-based. We're trying to skill our way back into games, and it's my job to point out the difference between working and doing the proper tasks there, and then trying to play with too much skill to get back in games. And when you play with skill, you play with high risk, and we're not built that way. We're built in a different way. We were successful doing it, but when we get down a goal or we get down 2 goals, we've tried to break it wide open, and now we're down 3 or 4 goals. And that's what I'm trying to do. So for me, these are nothing but teaching moments. I'm like everybody else. I'm very emotional after the game, but when I showed up today a little earlier than normal, this is teaching time, and that's what we did on the ice, and that's what we'll continue to do. Getting angry at people or emotionally disappointed, that's not my job. My job is to bring hope and coach. And I learned a long time ago I better figure out the difference if I want it to last long.